Number 6, this will be the key going forward. Delivery and pickup profitability. The landscape has changed. So going into this, we had been moving towards a food away from home of 53% compared to 40% at home. That's now reversed or on trend to have reversed. So it is now switched. We've lost about 6 points of variance there. So it's flipped around and gone the other direction. So as I mentioned earlier, safety of restaurants is being questioned during the pandemic. One interesting point is that we have a potential reduction in competition for all of you of probably 20%. That's my estimate. I've seen, it depends on how long this drags out, but I've seen estimates as high as 35% and as low as 10%. I still think it's going to be 20 to 25% of the restaurants. I think people are going to get just kind of tuckered out and tired of this and want to pack it in. What that does is it does free up sales for everybody that stays in business. So while we're sad to see restaurants go, they're going to, and those sales will go someplace because that 47% of food away from home will be made up. It's still going to be an opportunity for everybody that's remaining, the other 80% or so. So it's a lot of restaurants, and if that PPP doesn't come through fairly soon, we're going to see some real dire times for people. Part of what's pushing it is this 50% or more people working from home. What creates the anxiety for all the operators is there's no clear return to the office. So there's an article in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago that scared the life out of everybody, because they literally, 28% of the businesses that were surveyed said, we don't know when we're going back to the office. About half of them said, maybe next year. So only 8% of the workers are at work. So downtown areas have been devastated by that. Digital penetration, be everywhere and step on it. Back in the early 20th century, cold cereal had just kind of started coming on the scene. And then we had the Great Recession, or the Great Depression, sorry, not the Great Recession, Great Depression. And there were two companies that were kind of dominating the market at the time for cornflakes. One was Kellogg's and one was Post. And to this day, we have one dominant player. And the difference was Post did what most companies would do, and that was hit the brakes. Kellogg's doubled down, increased their marketing spend, decided to be everywhere, tried to do whatever they could to drive those sales, and as a result, took over that marketing position and being the dominant, having the market share. So my advice to you is to step on it. I think it's a great strategy. Step on it. Get out there. Be everywhere. Be on Twitter. Be on all the social. Have an active email platform. Have a great website platform that can link through to delivery service and to your own channel. Because there are not only the third-party deliveries, but there's the do-it-yourself, and there's alternative delivery. There's several companies that will come by your restaurant, pick it up, and deliver it. So that's at a much better price. So they might have a flat rate, and we've had pretty good luck with that in some of the bigger markets, using companies that will literally drop by your restaurant, pick up the goods, and keep going and deliver it to the guest. So that's an alternative. And you want to make sure in your delivery and your pickup profitability that you are building incremental check average, that you have add-ons. A lot of times when you go to a place like Amazon, you get the little pop-up that says people also enjoyed this, or people bought this together. Make sure that you have items that stick out, and maybe you can couple them together and buy and have them buy things like whole meals and kits as well. So food, beverage, and dessert. Dessert's often the ignored piece. So make sure that you are doing entire kits, because you can bump that check average up quite a bit, $5-10 easy by getting desserts in there. So you want to make sure that you focus on the entire check and track what you were tracking before at a check average, and make sure that you're driving that number up. Because a couple of bucks when you're eating at home is a lot different than a couple of bucks eating in a restaurant. So I think that's a tremendous opportunity to build check average to get more for the same amount of labor, have higher sales. Make sure that those packages are accurate. And this goes back to what the CFO of McDonald's said back when they were doing their turnaround. It didn't matter if you had really fast, delicious food, if you put the wrong thing in the bag. So make sure that your packing is extremely accurate. I know it's a silly thing, but it happens more often than not when you don't get an item and you're at home. It really makes you kind of question ordering again. So you want to make that guest experience as good as possible. Last thing on there is ghost kitchens. So these ghost kitchens are going to be accelerated. We haven't seen quite the penetration of these yet, but we will. A lot of times they're in warehouse locations. They are offered low rent. They've got a central distribution point. So maybe they're in a SOTO type of area where they can get to 90, they can get to 5, they can pop down to 405, they can get throughout the city, they can get to the north and the south. So we'll start to see more of an emergence of those, and it's something to consider as you have your company and you think about how to sell more. You could also put a second brand under the same roof, because the food is coming from who knows where. So if it's coming out of your restaurant, you could also add a second brand. So I know, chicken sandwiches out of someplace that does really great burgers, and they can start specializing in certain things.